This is Lions on Tap, a weekly look inside the Lions' Den, presented by Coors Light, the chill choice and official beer of the BC Lions. Highlights, interviews, and a look ahead to this week's game. Now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, and the voice of your BC Lions, Bob the Moj Marjanovic.
Welcome to another edition of BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW. The Moj, Bob Marjanovic, as the man said, along with Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski from the Lions and media and social content teams. Tonight we're coming to you from BC Kitchen at Parq Vancouver, downtown Vancouver. We're at the second floor here. Big shout out to Sally and her staff. Food was outstanding as usual. We've been here before, Matt Baker. The beef dip, killer.
Yeah.
The wontons, killer. Just saying.
I went mac and cheese tonight. Pretty good, to quote Larry David. Yeah.
And just to let people know, if you're ever going to a Lions game, like maybe this weekend when Winnipeg comes to town on Sunday, this place is hopping before and after the game. So, and the other thing, too, you got great access to BC Place Stadium for here. You go through one of the gates where there's no lineup.
Don't go outside at all, really, right?
Basically just kind of walk out of BC Kitchen here at Parq in Vancouver, just 15 feet, boom, you're in the stadium. So
predict I might be in here after the game. You never know.
A lot of players come in here too after.
Yeah.
So what do you guys want to talk about today? Anything newsworthy?
Can we were we able to pluck any topics here tonight, or
it's a slow news day, really. We're just joking, of course. The big news of the day is that Nathan Rourke has returned to the Lions' Den after being waived by the Atlanta Falcons of the National Football League. Of course, this comes in this odyssey in the NFL. It started off in Jacksonville, moved to New England, went to the New York Giants, and of course wrapped up with Atlanta. But Nathan Rourke is returning to the CFL as a BC Lion. Matt, take us through your morning this morning because it was rather interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I was out for my morning walk/jog, more walking than jogging, but yeah, like you say, getting little steps in because non-practice day, figure wouldn't be too much happening during the day, and I get the phone call at about 7:40, and yeah, the rest is history, as they say. Kind of a quick scramble to get it all together, but those are the days you live for in the business, in the communications, sports world. News can break at the drop of the hat, and yeah, one of those days where it doesn't really stop and your head is kind of spinning a little bit. But yeah, I'll just say it all came together rather quickly this morning.
Well, then, of course, in come the requests, I imagine. People want to talk to Nathan Rourke. And the funny thing is he's not even in Vancouver. He might be in Vancouver by now.
Yeah,
he wasn't even in Vancouver this morning. He was in transit.
We've got, this is almost like Ohtani watch, when people thought he was on the plane to Toronto. Only this time we know Nathan's coming, and it's not the guy from Shark Tank or whatever. But, we expect he's still in Atlanta, so Atlanta to Vancouver, not exactly the easiest route to take, but he will be at practice tomorrow being Wednesday, and I expect the attendance and the interest to be great. And, yeah, it all happens pretty quick. We're taking the bus, Nick, on Sunday to Commonwealth Stadium. For the Lions playing the Elks, and we find out just before we get to Commonwealth that Nathan is available. So that's a span of less than 48 hours where he's a BC Lion again. So
we'll get into more of that, of course, with our guest tonight, my colleague, fellow announcer on the Lions broadcast, our color analyst, Giulio Caravatta. He'll join us for the second and third segments. But you mentioned Edmonton, 33-16. Man, actually, I'll ask you guys for your thoughts on the game, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
You want to start, Nick? You hadn't chimed in here yet.
I would say the rushing yards for Edmonton is where I kind of look at primarily, and even the rushing yards for the Lions, too, because they started that opening touchdown drive a lot. Heavy dosage of Will Stanback, ends in a David Mackey sneak up the middle for a touchdown, and it kind of looked like the Lions of old and got out of that funk the last 2 weeks. And then Javon Leake, Rankin, their new running back, obviously Trey Ford when he was healthy, just were able to get an open space. And then once they got into the vicinity of tacklers, they would break through the tacklers, and that's obviously unideal. And I know the Lions defense wants to shore that area up, and I think when you look at toward the end of the game, the fourth quarter primarily, where Edmonton goes on a 14-0 run to close it out, that was the difference.
And I was going to chime in. The disappointing aspect for me was all week long after what went down in Winnipeg, getting shut out, only 4 first downs. We kept getting all these questions about what happened to the balanced attack. What did you get William Stanback in here for? And he had 36 of his yards on the ground on the opening drive alone on 4 carries, I think. So we thought, okay, here we go. Pound the rock, good run blocking schemes, and unfortunately didn't pick up and stay that way for 4 quarters. So that was the disappointing part for me, because we thought William Stanback was going to be a factor, and he was, and ultimately it didn't lead to a win.
I agree with Nick's first thought, and that's the run defense. And I went back and I watched the film, and Giulio will attest to this. I'm sending him screenshots. I'm sending him videos. I'm losing my mind.
You showed us these
I'm losing
videos.
my mind looking at some of the stuff that occurred in that game. And it's interesting because I had a conversation with defensive coordinator Ryan Phillips at the facility. And, you know, as bad as the Lions were on defense, and I'm talking just fundamental things that guys at this level should be doing, and guys have done in the past. But for whatever reason, against Edmonton, it kind of went out the window. Even with all that, there was still a 3-point game at one, like late in the third.
Into the fourth.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter. 19-16, right? And, you know, you talk about the offense. Barry Hill with a drop. Who knows what happens if they continue with that drive, right? Hatcher had a drop.
Well, the one with Hollins
had a
it
drop.
could have been 14-1 in the first quarter.
Was
right?
tough. Yeah. But Hollins and Barry Hill, those definitely should be caught balls. And then you have Falanico roughing the punter.
That
right?
was the backbreaker.
That was 7 points off that, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I look at the defense and how many times they let him off the hook on 2nd and long, or even a 1st and 15. But, man, the thing that gives me hope, and I think it gives everyone on the coaching staff hope as well, is that these guys have done this before. And it's not – if they were getting manhandled at the line of scrimmage and beaten up and physically, like, you know, thrown around, getting pancaked 5 yards back, that would be worrisome. But they're not. They're just doing fundamental things that you got to get back to. You know, you always hear coaches say get back to fundamentals. And I'll give you an example. I'm not even going to pick anybody out because all 4 of them did it. When you're in a run defense, you always want to keep your shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage. You don't want to get turned. When you get turned, it's called opening a door, right? Okay, like if it's a pass rush situation, obviously you got to turn your shoulders, try to get by a guy. But in a run situation, you basically don't want your shoulders turned. On the run where Leak scored on the touchdown run, he didn't get touched. All 4 linemen were turned, facing the sidelines. I'm just like, I'm watching this and going, what's going on, right? I'm looking at other players sometimes like crossing, instead of just maintaining the leverage of their gap, crossing the face of an offensive lineman and getting washed down the line of scrimmage. And, of course, there's going to be traffic where the ball is going. All of a sudden, the guy says, hey, I'm going to bounce it out here because nobody's there, right? I saw another play where one of the linebackers over-pursued so far that he was stacked behind the middle linebacker, and guess what? The guy cut back, and the guy been disciplined, the outside linebacker been disciplined and just waited for the cutback. He would have ran right to him. Instead, off to the races. So it's not like they're getting manhandled. To me, it's just more of a situation of, hey, let's get back to the basics here, and let's focus on the basics.
It was very boomer bust to me, too, right? The Lions did have 5 tackles for a loss. And we saw Sione Tuihama get in the backfield. Manny Rugamba came back in his return, and he was his usual self,
there
right?
There was a play, and, okay, we'll get into this as well a little bit, but there was a play where the defensive line, guess what? They kept their shoulders square to the line of scrimmage. Maxime Royer came off the edge, and it's called a 1-by-1 rule. It's like you want to basically be 1 yard away from the line of scrimmage and 1 yard deep. You don't want to get too far up because now you're opening up a seam for the running back to run through. So you want to kind of like have that edge and kind of squeeze it. He did his job. All the guys on the line did. Guess what? It was like -1. Or I think that was a play where Tuihama came off the edge, actually, was a tackle for a loss.
On 2nd and short,
Yeah. So, I mean, these guys know how to do it. They just got to be focused on just trying to, the Belichick line. Just do your job. Don't try to, be Superman. And I think that's what gives the Lions hope. The other thing, too, that comes into play, to be fair, is there are a lot of injuries with the linebacking core.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they got dinged up, and as a result, I think sometimes in passing situations, Edmonton took advantage of that because guys not necessarily knowing their responsibilities.
And I know Nathan Rourke obviously going to be the main focus at practice, but it will be interesting to see the likes of Ben Haladik. Bo Lacumbo was a little nicked up. I think Bo's going to be okay based on what I've heard. TJ Lee, rib injury, came back for the 4th quarter. Christophe Beaulieu didn't look too promising. A bit of a high ankle sprain. You know how serious those can be. So
and that's too bad because, honestly, the kid was really impressing a lot of people.
Second start of his career, and as a guy from training camp, we talked about how he was not overmatched by any means. So that
he was. Did you guys feature him in one of your?
Arrow up,
he was.
We do that for a reason. When guys stand out,
guys like Ronald Kent and Stanley Berryhill, and look, they're all
educated guesses.
Still here on the roster.
Bull U, one of the leading special teams tacklers too.
Yeah,
so if he's out, that's another underrated aspect.
So the configuration of the mid-level and back end of that defense will be another big storyline for me this week. Anyway.
All right, Winnipeg is coming up. Before we get to break, Matt Baker.
Yes.
Tell the people what's going on for this Winnipeg game because there's a lot of stuff going on. Never mind Nathan Rourke. It's Family Fest Day, right?
Yeah, Fam Fest, proudly supported by World Vision Canada, our excellent charity partner. And while we're talking about families, we should remind everyone, kids' tickets here starting at $15. Adults can join them for $25. Backyard party presented by Play Now Sports at 1 o'clock. Going to be spray tattoos, face painting. Again, it's a kid theme here. Even going to have a balloon artist on site is what I'm hearing. So, again, $15 kids tickets. Fred Penner is performing at halftime. Four-time Juno Award winner and a legendary children's music performer. And game tickets this week are good for weekday entry at the PNE Fair. August is here when we're talking about the PNE mode, so keep your ticket stub and go enjoy some cotton candy one day next week.
Very quickly,
perhaps.
you touched on World Vision being one of the charities that the Lions associate themselves with.
Charity, yes.
I saw Paula Cumbo and all those CFL players, George Shaika from the organization that went to Kenya. And I watched the first episode, and I was like, wow. It's just like, and I talked to Bo about it. I said, hey, I watched the video. He goes, life-changing. And just even watching it, when you watch that video and you see what some people in this world are going through, you realize that
puts things in perspective.
Yeah, we've hit the 649, we've hit the Lotto Max, and I always say this: people don't realize how lucky we are in this country.
Beyond Borders, head to our YouTube channel. Episodes 1 and 2 are up now.
Yep, and there'll be two more. Two more. It's kind of a mini series that we're doing, but the way it worked was 2 videographers went to Kenya from the CFL and the World Vision, and then I got passed over the footage. And like you, Moj, I'm watching it back and sifting through it all. I'm thinking just like, wow, it's like a whole other world, and you realize how grateful you are. And Bo was definitely emphasizing that message to everyone around him that we have it good, and it shows, right?
All right, much more coming up. Lions on Tap. Giulio Caravatta, our guest this evening, is just wrapping up signing autographs here at BC Kitchen at Parq Vancouver. A whole bunch of people have surrounded Giulio. Of course, he's a celebrity, man. People love him. Again, we're on the second floor. Big shout out to Sally and her staff here at BC Kitchen at Parq Vancouver. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we return, the man himself, Giulio Caravatta, on tap. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW.
Now, back to more of Lions on Tap, presented by Coors Light. Once again, here are Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, and Bob the Moj Marjanovic.
You are listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW. Coming to you tonight from BC Kitchen at Parq Vancouver, right downtown, adjacent to Rogers Arena and BC Place Stadium. Second floor up here, just a great spot to catch a game. If you're going to a Lions game, a great spot to come before and after the game. And as we mentioned, you will probably have the easiest access you've ever had to BC Place Stadium. You just walk out of Park, 10 feet, 20 feet, whatever it is, boom, you are there. All right, Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski from the Lions. Our guest now is the esteemed Giulio Caravatta in his 26th season.
Yeah, pretty close, something like that.
Speaking of the salary cap,
you don't keep track after a certain amount. It's not.
They had a nice tribute for you last year.
Yeah.
All that on the scoreboard and all that.
Do you get people pulling you aside and congratulating you?
Well, funny story. Who mistook you for for Moj on the bus in Edmonton? Do you remember?
Oh, Gary Peters, from behind.
Gary was trying to talk about Edmonton.
And then I just kind of turned my head to the side. I'm not him. I'm the other one.
Wow. It's not the first time that's happened.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
Trust me.
If I had a nickel.
Yeah.
Hey, Moj. The best one was I went to Joe Forte's. And so, when you go up to Joe Forte's, you go up to the bathroom, right?
Yep.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm having dinner with my wife, and I could get the sense that someone was kind of staring at me, right? So anyways, I go to the bathroom, and I kind of go and do my business, and then outside of that bathroom, there's a hallway, and it's got all the pictures of people that have been there. And so this guy comes out of the bathroom, and I'm sitting there staring at some of the pictures, looking, and he comes up to me and he goes, "You got to be up here somewhere, eh?" And I went, "Excuse me?" He goes, "Come on." He goes, "You're the Moach." He goes, "Your picture's got to be on this wall." I said, "No, I'm not." His face just went beet red. I said, "I'm the other guy."
You know what's something funny? I am on that wall.
Are you? Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Tony Twist bike tour.
Is it?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you look on that wall, and that John Elway showed up. They had like a big VIP kickoff at Forte's at the rooftop. And Elway showed up. And there's actually a picture of Elway, and you see me behind her.
No, not you.
Tony Twist.
Sylvester
Luke
Stallone's on there.
Oh,
yeah. God, yeah, there's a lot of...
It's insane.
And there's another one with Andre Dawson, too, when he was in town. So
wow.
Yeah.
Somebody was telling me they shut that place down and Billy Joel started playing the piano in there one day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, there's some probably good stories coming out of there. Anyways.
I'm going to tell you my best Giulio Caravatta story. This is mine. So Seahawks used to have that big weekend with Russell Wilson's camp up here and all that. So they had a celebrity flag tournament
Yes,
in
yes.
Ambleside. Right? So I'm sitting there. I showed up late. Everybody's leaving. People are hanging around the beer gardens. Guy walks up. He goes, "Hey, Moach." He goes, "You're really slinging it out there today." I was like, "What?" He goes, your arm, man. You got a strong arm. You were slinging it out there. And then that would be
Oh,
Giulio.
my God.
Yeah.
Yes. So it happens all the time.
Hey, besides us talking about, being mistook for one another, you want to talk about something today?
Yeah, no, it was a pretty slow day today, wasn't
What's on your mind?
I'm like, holy cow, I've been on the phone all day long, and that's a good thing. It's been an exciting day right from the get-go. And getting up this morning, I had to do a thing for Radio NL up in Kamloops at 7:40. I finished doing that. His last question was about Nathan, and we were talking about that. Not 5 minutes later did Matt's thing come out about Nathan signing. So, it's very exciting. What can you say? Nathan is a special player, and he's done special things in this league, and I'm happy that he's back. He's gonna help this team, and hopefully take them all the way.
Now he has been working out. Of course, he's been in training camps with the Giants, the Falcons. He's been working out, getting ready for those camps. But let me ask you this: how much rust do you think he has when it comes to actually playing in a game and playing the Canadian game? Which
Well,
of course is
it's
different.
a little bit different, but he just did play in a game right in Atlanta, so he threw 13 passes. So, I think realistically, I honestly, I'm not going to underestimate him. I just think that he's going to be able to come in here and pick up right where he left off. Like I don't think there's going to be much different with the system. You sure there's probably going to be certain things that Jordan has expanded on or tried to create some new things that it might be a little bit unfamiliar, but when you know the base, all those things kind of fit in. So I just can't see that being an issue for him.
The fact Rick Campbell pretty much said he's playing, he's getting all the first team reps in practice starting on Wednesday, that just kind of tells you that the brass has kept on it, done their due diligence, and they're confident he can step in there and lead.
I would imagine, Matt, that there's, him and Jordan McSimic must still continue to talk. I'm sure that there's been an ongoing, and whether they're discussing things or what they're trying to do, but I just can't see any of that being foreign to him. I'm sure the adrenaline and all those kinds of things, but getting a good 3 days of practice and prep, and he's going to be prepared because that's just what he does.
Long week helps.
Yeah,
too,
and I'm not going to underestimate him. That's for sure.
And Giulio, I know you were present today at the media availabilities with Rick Campbell and Neil McAvoy. I know maybe Rick declaring that he's going to take all the starting reps was maybe a surprising aspect, but was there anything else from all the information they revealed that surprised you today? The length of the contract, maybe?
Maybe a little bit of that. Yeah, sure. That might be one. That's a good point. I think that kind of jumps out at you a little bit, but I think that all of us, because this has been a topic in the last few weeks with all of us. I know when we've been, on the bus or at the practice field, it is something that I think we all thought might happen, but I don't know if we thought it was going to happen this quickly. I mean, I thought maybe he was going to wait till the beginning of the season and see if anything happened, but clearly he has reached a point of, I don't know, I don't want to say frustration, but realizing maybe, you know, what the situation is going to be for him down there. And so maybe in his, and you know, Nathan's going to do his due diligence. He's going to do his research. This is a you know, the best place for him to be right now. And to get on the field and play. He's a competitor. He wants to play. He wants to be out there, and we're the ones that are going to be lucky enough to see it on Sunday.
Do you think, 2022 was when Nathan was here lighting it up? Do you think the potential is there to get back to that level, or is there more to fix?
I learned something along the way when he first got here. I mean, again, nothing surprises me anymore with him. He's just that good. So, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some rust, as Moj said. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of that, but my expectation is probably pretty high.
You are listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW. It's the Moj, Bob Marjanovic, along with Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski from the Lions social and media content teams, and of course Giulio Caravatta, color analyst on the Lions broadcasts. I want to get to Vernon Adams in a second, but first off, the game in Edmonton. Your thoughts?
Are you over it yet?
No.
You and I were going back and forth yesterday.
I was telling everybody. I was like,
you were pretty hot yesterday. I was telling you. I was telling you better stop doing that like late at night because you're not going to be able to sleep. You were so fired up. I think what the disappointing part is that it just, I think from like the defensive standpoint was just we haven't seen anything like that up to this point, right? There was a lot of mental mistakes and missed tackles and missed assignments. It was nothing like we've seen before. So that always is a big surprise. I mean, I didn't think I thought Jake was did a good enough job that, you know, if he could have gotten some help here and there, it would have, there could have been a different outcome here, right? So we talk about the drop passes and penalties, but I think overall that was the most disappointing part was defensively and all the missed assignments. We talked about that during the broadcast, like little 4 or 5 yard checkdowns are going for 15, 16, 18 yards downfield. That's just something you can't have.
Yeah, and like I said, watching the film rather intently last night, as you know, with all the videos and screenshots you got. But man, Julia, the thing that blows me away, and I mentioned this in talking with Ryan Phillips today, the Lions defensive coordinator, this isn't like they're not getting blown up. They're not getting manhandled. They're not getting physically beat. These are just fundamental mistakes that they were making that cost them. Right, and they got to get back to
in week 9
fundamentally sound. Well, you know what happens? Sometimes guys, they get lazy a little bit. They start to freelance a little bit, or just kind of, I'm going to try this. You kind of get cocky. No, just do your job, as Belichick says. Just do your job. You do that, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Right, I mean, the attention to detail. I think what's happened too, guys. I mean, and again, this is something else we talk about all the time is that. The West Division is going to be a dogfight, and all the way down to the wire, man.
I had people talking before that, Julia. Sorry to cut off. They're like, Edmonton 1-7.
No.
Have you seen their scores this year?
3 straight walk-off games.
4-3. They
exactly.
could have been 5-2, whatever the mark was, but it wasn't a one-win team they were playing.
Exactly right. Yeah, and you're bang on, right? So that's the entire division for me. So it's going to be, again, a dogfight all the way down. They're going to need everybody. And I think also the importance of some of these guys that are on the roster, that are on practice roster or wherever, that when your number's called, you got to be able to step up and do your job, right? Because you're going to get exposed pretty quickly if you don't. And that's one of the things that I think every coach is harping on, is that when you get your chance, you better know what you're doing, because if you don't, you may not get it again.
How much do you think being back at home will provide a lift? Of course, with the Nathan Rourke story as part of that. 3 road games, 3 losses. Can't do anything about it now, but the bulk of the games are going to be at Save on Foods Field at BC Place. Maybe is a silver lining.
Yeah, obviously getting the chance to play at home and against a big rivalry that's going to have a great crowd, and I'm sure that's going to do a ton for the enthusiasm, and for the guys coming out of the tunnel. It's going to be a great atmosphere, and I'm sure for them too, right? When you play a game like that, and as a player, there's no fooling the player, right? The player knows when they watch film, when they see it, they know. And so when you don't play up to what your standard is, and you watch yourself on film and you say, what am I doing? What was I thinking? You get embarrassed, right? Like, you know that you're better. And so your attention to detail, it just gets that much better. And so I'm sure there's a lot of guys in that locker room that want to get back out on the field and prove to everybody about the kind of player that they are.
All right, much more coming up with Alliance color analyst Giulio Caravatta. Again, we're coming to you from BC Kitchen at Parq Vancouver, located on the second floor. If you're coming to the game this Sunday for the Winnipeg game, come up to Parq before the game. Enjoy yourself here. They got great food, great drinks, great atmosphere. And then you have the easiest, and I mean the easiest, access to BC Place Stadium. You just literally walk out of Parq and 20 yards and boom, you're in BC Place. So it's a pretty good deal. So again, plus post-game, happening spot. A lot of the players love coming
Great
in as well.
spot, yes.
So much more coming up. We're going to get to Kowalski's trivia in the final segment, but more with Giulio Caravatta coming up. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW.
Now back to more of Lions on Tap, presented by Coors Light. Once again, here are Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, and Bob the Moj Marjanovic.
This is BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW. Coming to you tonight from BC Kitchen at Parq Vancouver, second floor. Big shout out to Sally and the staff here looking after us. And of course, all of this is a presentation of the good folks at Molson Coors. As the man said, it's the Moj Bob Marjanovic along with Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski from the Lions social and media content teams. And our guest is Lions color analyst Giulio Caravatta. Of course, my colleague on the broadcast. I'm thrilled to be broadcasting on Giulio's show all the time.
Not a bad sidekick for Giulio to have, yeah.
So I just, you know what? It's like hanging out with the rock star. That's what it is.
Golly.
You see him tonight,
Just
he was signing
endless.
autographs.
Yeah.
Endless.
Every time.
Just endless.
Doesn't matter. Home, away,
Yep.
On the road always.
On the road.
restaurants. Yeah.
Yeah. Saskatchewan, buses in Montreal.
Golly.
He had a good streak there going
yeah,
for
they
a
had
while.
a great streak.
Yeah.
What are the chances? Yeah.
What are the chances?
Okay, people, let's let him in on that.
Oh,
Yeah,
of
the
course.
statute
I'm
of
sure-
limitations.
I'm
is
sure you
over.
would love-
You go ahead. Yeah.
So what we did last year is we kind of...
No, what you did, not what we did.
Yeah,
What he
I'm not involved in
T-Bar
this.
was in it. Bakes was in on
I
it.
knew about it,
Yeah,
yeah.
people knew about it. We had people on the road that we got a whole bunch of Giulio Caravatta football cards, and then I said, you know, why don't I get some glossies? So making a long story short, every time we went somewhere, I would give these glossies or cards to guys, and when Giulio would walk out, he would sign them. And, like, you know, all of a sudden, he's never signed any autographs. And everywhere he's going now, he's signing autographs. And he couldn't figure it out, but he eventually did it the great
Well,
way.
okay, hold on a second.
Yeah.
You making it seem like there was 50 people outside the hotel waiting for me.
20.
There was one, maybe two. So
I heard a guy in Regina say this is kind of like when the Beatles came to town.
yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, it was good. It was a good little prank
Yeah.
we had going on
Yeah.
for a while. And they got some guy basically let the cat out of the bag at the Grey Cup. You know, we talk about Nathan Rourke. Let's talk about Vernon Adams Jr. Because
that to me is,
yeah.
you know, I feel for the guy, right? Like there's no other way to put it. You know, Vernon's had an MOP type season, right? He's been absolutely unbelievable up to this point, you know, I think that look at this situation. They've worked together before. They know each other. That's obviously going to be a huge plus. But there's no question that you know, you got to feel for the guy, right? Plain and simple.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it. I know how hard he works. I know the preparation that he puts in, and it's just that when you come to this situation, you just realize it's a business part of it, right? And but it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, and Rick Campbell talked about that today. You were there. He said, we plan on utilizing both of them between now and the end of the season, so we'll see how it works out. But, you know, here's the thing about Vernon. And for people that don't know, I mean, you always hear, oh, yeah, all the hard work he puts in. Well, I'm going to give you examples. Number one, first guy in there, 5 o'clock, bank, 6 in the morning.
Easily, yeah.
Right, and the last guy to leave. But, you know, just the little things. Julia, you see it. We're on the bus. What's he doing? He's looking at his wristband. He's looking at his notes. He's going, you know, he gets to the stadium. He visualizes. He's going through all that stuff. I mean, as soon as the game's over, he's like on the plane. He's got an iPad in his hand.
Yeah,
right?
no, you just pointed out, whether it's the bus, whether it's the plane, He's always got his notebook out. He's always doing the visualization. He's always rewriting and going over plays. And then when he gets to the stadium, it's onto the field and visualizing, going through the playbook or going through his wristband, where he's supposed to go, what he's supposed to do. But that's all part of the, that's all part of the reason why he is who he is and why he's so good.
Well, that's the reason why it probably hurts so much, because he's invested that much.
Yes,
right?
yes. And if you want to be great, that's the kind of investment that you have to have, right? He's a fantastic role model for a lot of those young quarterbacks, because they realize what it's going to take to be successful is first one in, last one out, and then all the preparation that goes into a weekly game. So again, you feel for him, and there's I don't know any other way to put it, right? I do feel for him, but the reality is, they now have two fantastic quarterbacks.
Well, the other thing too, fellas, let's throw this into the mix. I don't think Vernon Adams is just going to go in a corner and sit in the fetal position. He's going to go out there and compete.
Sure,
he wants to play.
He's going to prepare as if he is going to play. Yeah.
So
this team is going to go as far as they take them, the two of them.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, he's almost, and he will continue to for sure be this, he's almost like an extra coach out there.
Oh, for sure.
Like, he's not dressed in Edmonton, but he's on there working with the receivers and telling guys to stay positive and be ready, be alert. And there was a moment in practice, it would have been Winnipeg week, when we were out to Cloverdale. And there, it's all kind of rushed after, have to get back to Surrey, and he pulls all the receivers aside to to go over once again a situation that they were trying to figure out and trying to work on. And he did that. It's not the OC, it's not the receivers coach. So Vernon is still very much going to be bringing that aspect to it.
You make a very, very, and that's going to be the both of them, right? Like the thing about that is, you're right, is that Jordan McSimic is upstairs, right?
Yes.
Tuck is downstairs on the field. He's got the headset. He's now, if he's dealing with anything, he's going to deal with the receivers, or he's going to relay whatever. But when you have a guy like Vernon on the sidelines, that's a completely different, perspective that he's giving guys. So he can pull the one guy aside, he can pull a group together, and that those guys are going to listen to him because he knows what he knows, right? So it's a valuable tool to have on the sidelines when you got that kind of experience.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the negatives. And there might be some negatives. I'm not saying there are going to be negatives, but there is the potential for the locker room to start picking quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, we've seen that in the past. Yeah, and I'm not saying with this team, but we've seen it. We've seen it in the past happen. But knowing the two of them the way that I don't know. You guys are around the team a lot. Inside more. The makeup of this team, I just can't see that. I think in the end, they want to win. That's the bottom line. Yeah. Whoever's going to get us to the goal line is ever going to get us to the ultimate prize. That's the most important goal, right? And so that's the way you have to look at it. And you can't let your ego or your own personal side come in and do things or say things that are going to disrupt the team. And that's now something that Rick and the leadership group of the team, they now have to make sure that they keep an eye on and have it under control.
Rick talked about it the first call he made this morning after the news was to Vernon.
Yeah.
Like to, say, hey, you're still going to
That was the first thing he had to do. Yep.
You're still going to be a big part of this team. We still plan on using you moving forward. And knowing Vernon, and this is going to be a test because clearly he has been the ultimate team guy thus far. Now this is going to be a test. And I think he's going to pass this test and continue to be a team guy.
Oh, I know he's going to pass the test. And I will say this as well, that, and I don't want to speak to his injury because only he can speak to that. But I would imagine that this is also going to allow him, because the competitor in him probably would have maybe tried to come back maybe a little bit, maybe quicker than he would have maybe liked if he could have, taken the full. So be 100% healthy when you get back. That's also going to be something here that they're not going to take any chances on. And I don't know about what you guys think, but I would imagine that he would have felt pressure if they had lost again, and he was he was trying to rush back, and then that's when bad things happen, right? So now he's going to be able to really kind of make sure he's 100%.
You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW. It's the Moj, Bob Marjanovic, along with Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski from the Lions social and media content teams. Giulio Caravatta, Lions color analyst, is our guest. Let's move along, gents. Winnipeg this Sunday.
Yeah, big one.
So, the last game the Winnipeg Blue Bombers played, they shut out their opponents 25-0 in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
They've been lying in wait since then.
Yeah, they have. You guys, the defense held them to, 6 field goals, only 1 touchdown.
They were 40% on second down, Winnipeg.
Exactly. And so, but the story, I think, really of that game was their defense and how they were able to kind of stay ahead of the Lions. They really didn't have an answer for that defense. So that's going to be, for me, the chess match that's going to be interesting.
You talk about the importance. The Lions have dropped the season series to Edmonton. Two meetings, that was it. Edmonton got them on point differential. This is a chance to wrap up a season series with Winnipeg. So win this one, and you essentially open up a 9-point lead with 8 games to go. So
big.
It's the stakes. The stakes are
couldn't
huge.
be higher.
Rick Campbell talks about it all the time, and Saskatchewan, the Lions only play twice. That's why they kicked the field goal at the end to factor in points.
Mm-hmm.
So feels like a playoff game, doesn't
absolutely. They're all going to be like this. I'm sorry, but every week we're going to go and we're going to say the same thing. It's going to be a dogfight right down to the end. And you look at what you have. You're not going to look. The team is not going to look. This is what we do. Is you look at what's ahead of them. A back-to-back against the Ottawa Red Blacks that are, what are they, 5-2?
Then go into Montreal.
Then you're going to Montreal. So it's not going to get any easier. But I think when you get into these situations, you got to just look at the one team in front of you. Concentrate on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I'm sure that's what they're doing. And all their focus and energy is going to be into winning this football game.
The one thing I'm looking for in this game, too, is that if Nathan is playing, you got to keep your foot on the gas, too, right? Because last year in October, we saw a hot start from the Lions. They get out to that lead against Winnipeg in that season series game, and then you just felt that Winnipeg was coming and coming and coming. And a team with that championship caliber, it looks like Kenny Lawler is going to come back.
He'll be back,
so that's going to be a problem, but maybe see a lot of Gary Peters on him again. But it's a championship caliber team, right? You got to play full 60. No matter what.
They have that pedigree, right? They know, and they're never out of any game, right? They're always going to have that fight in them because that's just their DNA, and that's what they've been for the last 4 years. So I would imagine that they know what's in front of them as well, right? They know how big this is going to be for them. If they win this game, they're going to be right back in it. So it's big for everybody. So again, super excitement building around this thing, and I think that's the best part, is that there's going to be a real energy walking into that stadium on Sunday.
Yeah, August, Nathan Rourke, Kenny Lawler, all the superstar status
against the Caleros and that, all that stuff. It's just, there's so many factors. Then you got to think to yourself too, like, I mean, it's everywhere, and so all eyes. If you're not going to be at the stadium, how many people are going to be watching on television, right?
Well,
which is great.
It's it's funny. I was doing Saskatchewan radio today, much like you. Everyone's phoning, hey, you want to come on and talk? But people talk about this. Nathan Rourke moves the needle.
Yeah.
Right? He moves the needle not only for the Lions, but for the CFL as a whole, right? People are going to be watching this game that might not have been watching this game.
What about this? I think for the CFL too, like you got a quarterback in Edmonton who's Canadian. You got Nathan Rourke. I mean, how long has it been since you've seen that, right? And two very, very dynamic quarterbacks that in their markets and across the country move the needle, right? Plain and simple.
All right, we're going to let you go.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Coming up. Thanks for stopping by tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Good stuff. Giulio Caravatta, Lions color analyst, joining us tonight on tap. Again, we are coming to you from BC Kitchen at Parq Vancouver. We're on the second floor here. And again, if you're coming to the game Sunday versus Winnipeg, check out BC Kitchen at Parq Vancouver. It's great prior to the game. You can come in here, do what you want to do, have a great meal, and then just walk literally 20 yards across the little foyer there, and boom, you're in BC Place Stadium. So it's easiest way to get into BC Place Stadium is come to Parq and walk across. And after the game, pretty hot spot from what we're hearing. A lot of the players like checking this place out as well. All right, final segment coming up. Nick Kowalski's world-famous BC Lions trivia. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW.
This is Lions on Tap, presented by Coors Light, the chill choice and official beer of the BC Lions. Now it's time for Nick Kowalski's world-famous trivia.
Yes, indeed. This is the Moj, Bob Marjanovic, along with Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski from the Lions media and social content teams, respectively. Coming to you tonight from BC Kitchen at Parq Vancouver, second floor. And again, great spot. We'll talk about this a little later if you're going to go to the game on Sunday. This, of course, is all a presentation of Molson Coors. And as the man said, it's time for Nick Kowalski's world-famous trivia. I'm just going to take a guess and say it might be Nathan Rourke related.
I made it a little before Nathan Rourke.
He does his show prep. He's good.
We gotta.
Have you ever heard of the term audible?
What about leaving it in the bank for a bigger moment?
Touchdown Pacific.
Yeah, when he's back home in Victoria.
All right.
So that's another underrated aspect of the signing. But I did go a quarterback route, though, as for the inspiration. The inspiration for this week's trivia is all about Jake Dolegala. So the trivia is not about him, but it's the inspiration. So what stands out about Jake? He is a very tall man, right? So we're going to go all things bios with the BC Lions. And by that, I mean height, weight, age, you name it. So
seeing as I wrote these things. Yeah.
Baker's definitely an odds-on favorite on this one.
No, I wrote the story as well.
He's wrote the story.
Yeah, so here we go.
6'7", 242, 27 years old, Central Connecticut, grew up in Buffalo,
New York. Yeah.
What else do you want?
Good night. That's it right there. We're done. No, but
10
Jake
games in
Dolegala.
Saskatchewan.
Here's the first one.
2-8.
Jake Dolegala is 6'7", like you said, but he's not the tallest player on the BC Lions because that is
Justin McInnes.
incorrect.
David Neville.
David Neville, point for Moj.
See?
We'll go on the flip side of the ball. So defensive, there are 5 guys tied for the tallest player on defense. I will accept any as a correct answer. You got any names?
Christophe Beaulieu.
Tallest player on defense. Period.
Patrice Rene.
No, you got to think D lineman here, guys.
Josh
Tallest player on
Banks.
defense. That's one.
Christian Covington.
I'll just say one. So Moj, you have to match her.
Sione Tuihema.
Sione Tuihema is correct answer. Yeah. The other 3 where I would have accepted are Francis Bemi, Giulio Falanico, and Ben Halatic is listed at 6'4". So that's
How tall is Patrice?
6'3",
I would guess.
6'2", 6'3".
He doesn't go
No,
a
he's
little
not
taller.
6'2". I'm 6'2", and
He's
taller than me.
6'3", yeah.
Okay, so 2-2 though. Good start,
All right.
guys. So by my research, and I actually manually looked this up, Jake Dolegala is the second non-lineman ever that is above 6'6" to play a game for the BC Lions. Can you guys name the other player? I'll give you
Non-second, so there's another non-lineman who's taller
so not
than 6'.
offensive or defensive lineman that was
So
taller.
it has to be a wide receiver of some sorts.
And the hint I'll give you is it was recent.
Ooh, boy.
We all know him. That's another good hint. Like that's including myself. You guys have all talked to him,
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Oh, Giovanni Robinson.
Giovanni Robinson, point for Moj. Point for Moj. He's actually having a nice season in Hamilton now. So good for
Yeah.
Had a
Giovanni.
touchdown pass last week.
Yeah. So let's talk the big boys. Who's the heaviest BC Lions player right now?
Suk Chung.
That's incorrect. There are 2 answers though. They're tied
Suk's
for
going to
second.
kill me.
Corey Woodruff.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Corey Woodruff. I would have accepted
I
David
had a-
Neville or Jarrell
Broxton?
Broxton and Neville are 325. I would have accepted those 2, but Matt pulled
I was just kidding, Suk.
So 3-3, here we go to the next question. One defensive player cracks the 300-pound mark, which is kind of common in the CFL, lighter defensive linemen and all that. Can you guys name who the one defensive player at 300 pounds is?
At 300 pounds. Ooh.
I wouldn't say Jonah Tavai. Not
Josh
tall enough.
Banks.
Incorrect. Baker, what do you got, Moj?
Got to be an interior guy. It's not Tebow.
Tebow's close, but it's not Tebow.
It's not Banks.
Nope, it's not Banks. You're at the right positional group, obviously.
Am I allowed to keep guessing? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, first to hit it. Start throwing out some names. It's not Tavai.
Marcus Moore.
Marcus Moore is incorrect, too.
Boy.
We're close. We're naming defensive linemen here.
Interior for sure.
It's interior, yep. So Moj, you were incorrect. It is an interior guy.
More Dubai.
Banks Tavai. Moore
Banks
Tavai.
Tavai.
I'm
Who
going to
else
accept
are
the
we
first
missing?
answer here.
Who are we missing?
You're missing a couple. Oh, this is going to be a bad one.
Oh, no.
Okay, we'll move on. It's Christian Covington at 300 pounds.
He's
Really?
not 300.
I took it from the BCLions.com
No,
website.
that's wrong.
So.
Well,
Baker made a
he
mistake.
did tell me after he signed he's back to his high school.
280
weight.
or
All right, well, let's move on from height.
That's a wash.
So you didn't do your research.
Yeah,
I looked at the site. Matt Baker wrote it. He said
okay.
himself. All right, we're gonna move on to age. So this one has to be correct.
Age.
So we got 4 23-year-olds on our roster. I'm going to give you the names, and I want to see if you guys can name the youngest player on the roster. 23 years old is the youngest. So the answers are, or the options are, Cale Dava, Kieran Poissant, Devin Ravenel, or Jonah Tavai. Who is the youngest player on the team?
Baby Tavai, because I call him Baby Tavai.
Poissant.
Point for Baker. It's
Yeah.
Kieran Poissant. Kieran
Junior.
Poissant, March 1st, 2001 is his birthday. What about the opposite side of the spectrum? And who's the oldest player in the team?
Whitey.
I was gonna say I'm gonna eliminate Sean White from this.
Kyle Nelson.
He's an ageless wonder.
Kyle
at this point.
Nelson.
It is Kyle Nelson. There you go. We're moving on. How about here's a random one. It's gonna be multiple choice. We have a New Year's Eve.
What's the
birthday.
score? 5-3?
5-3 Baker. Yeah.
No, 4-4. You guys see, there's a recount going on as we speak. It's 4-4.
We got to figure this out. So who has a New Year's Eve birthday? I'll give you the options here. It's Joshua Archibald, Amir Sadiq, Christophe Beaulieu, or Andrew Pearson. New Year's Eve birthday.
Just because he's like his personality and probably like whatever they are, Virgos at that time of year, I'm going to go Pearson.
What do you got?
What were the options? Pearson,
Beaulieu, Sadiq, and Archibald.
No, you know what? No, I'm not going to go with Pearson. I'm going to go with Sadiq.
Archibald.
Point for Moj. It's
Okay.
Amir Sadiq. And okay, here's the final question here. Whose birthday is coming up the soonest on the team? So we got A. I'll give you guys 4 options too. So the next birthday on the team, or around the team, we could say. Nathan Cherry is A. Keon Hatcher is B. Marcus Moore is C. And Bob Marjanovic is D. What do you got, Baker?
I got Moj.
What do you got, Moj?
Josh Archibald.
No, the correct answer is Bob Marjanovic.
Oh.
We got August 16th this Friday coming up, right, Moj?
You just had to blurt that out, didn't you? I thought, I liked you for a while. Kowalski even took you to the Super Bowl. I don't know about that.
Happy early 48th birthday, Bob.
You beat me to it. You're off. You went high. You went high. It's younger. It's 40, right? There's a 0 at the end of it, but I think it's 4, right?
You guys are dreaming.
It might be a milestone,
It
too.
is a milestone.
We'll see what the insiders are reporting on that, okay?
It's got a 0 behind it. Don't remind me.
There it is. There you go.
All right, thank you. Nick Kowalski,
Good
great
job.
as usual.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Before we get out of here, Matt Baker, again, Winnipeg coming up this Sunday. What do we got?
BCLions.com/FanFest. The upper bowl is open. Might we have some more sections? You never know, but expecting a very well-attended game here on Sunday. 1 o'clock backyard party on Terry Fox Plaza. Spray tattoos, balloon artists, plenty of activities for kids. Super Mario is going to make an appearance, I believe, on the concourse. T-Mart's jacked up for that. You might miss T-Mart for half a quarter. He's
By the way,
go
just
to
to let you know, next week, our pres, Dwayne Vanu, he wants Pop Mart back. Pop Mart, there's a lot of public pressure right now. Season ticket holders are clamoring for Pop Mart to return.
Over under, I say it's back in 3 weeks.
3 weeks, I agree.
Okay.
Pop Mart return.
Hey, gate entry to the P&E weekday for your tickets. So bclions.com/fanfest. $15 tickets for kids 17 and under. Adults can join them at $25, and I'm expecting it to be a fun one given the news of the day, the news of the week, and the fact that it's Winnipeg, too. Just a little icing on the cake. A chance to, again, essentially open up a 9-point lead when you factor in the season series.
All right, there you go. Before we get out of here, speaking of birthdays, special birthday tonight, Bake, and I know you will wholeheartedly give your well wishes. I don't think Nick has ever met this fine gentleman, but a very, very happy birthday to our old friend Barry McDonald.
Yes.
Who's celebrating a birthday today. So big
Happy
shout
birthday, B-Mac.
B-Mac, if you're listening, which I know you're not, I just want to wish you a happy birthday, you and Ev, and of course everyone else. Hope you have a great, great night and a great, great week. All right, that is a wrap for us. Again, Bombers, Lions this Sunday, 4 o'clock at BC Place Stadium. If you're not attending the game, and of course I say you should attend the game, you can listen to it on CKNW 980. Kickoff at 3, or probably pregame show at 3, kickoff at 4. And again, a big thank you to everybody here tonight at BC Kitchen to Parq Vancouver. And if you're going to the game, pop on into Parq and BC Kitchen, and then just head over to BC Place Stadium. It's a short walk. You got great access to the stadium. And then after the game, this is the place what will be hopping, especially, well, not especially, when the Lions knock off the Bombers on Sunday. You know what I'm going to tell you before we get out of here? Do what you got to do. Go for it on 3rd and short. Just do us a favor. Be safe.